Ms. Deegan, you can start.
Okay.
I want to know about the Lealman days. Was it Lealman Intermediate then?
Comprehensive.
Lealman Comprehensive was the
and
school.
then it changed to intermediate.
Okay.
But at first, Corey was at our school, which was a school for dropout prevention. And I had a sense that the first day of school, he wasn't real happy to be there. And he seemed to have difficulty accepting the fact that he was at that school. And so this school focused on teaching skills to students as well as the academics too, so they had so much time they had to give to that. And they had skills such as auto repair and so on. And they also had a program for music. And this is where Corey really shined. This program, it was a small school. Let me go on. Mr. Payne was the teacher, and he was a gifted teacher because he himself was so gifted in the music and all of the.
Yes.
And anytime somebody wants to jump in, come on. He was well known for his expertise in developing musicals for students, which included dance theater and musical productions, as well as creating sets and so on. This was a great motivator for Corey, because this is what was really in his heart. And it seemed to be the catalyst that started his musical career.
He talks about that often.
Does he?
That Mr. Payne he made that connection, and when he got to the school, he didn't want to be there, like you said. But once he connected with Mr. Payne, that gave him the motivation to do even better.
And he would come up and say, Mrs. Hunter, Mr. Payne said I could go to his class and do, a special dance or whatever. And I think Corey ended up in the Sterling Silvers.
He was in the
And, that was really cool for him. And he was such a cool little kid. He said to me, oh, I was bad in your class, Mrs. Hunter. I didn't really care for math. And I said, you know what, it was a motivator, but you learned something, didn't you?
Right. He actually was saying that doing the ceiling the other day about he hated math.
Yeah.
But he knows that it was important for him to do well, so
Yes.
he tried hard.
And I just want to let all y'all students know, man, when y'all in school and y'all doing y'all math, y'all got to really pay attention, because whenever you remodeling or doing anything like that, it has a lot to do with numbers. Something that I didn't do well with in school. That's why I got my buddy Jaime here. He's taking care of it. Want to say something to the students in math class?
Yeah, pay attention to those numbers, because everything in life has to do with numbers, as you guys can see.
Yep, you got that.
And that's what we wanted in Lealman, is for them to try hard and at least see something new or a new way to do it.
Yeah, I didn't have Corey in class, but I did work with he and Mr. Payne and Linda Phillips when we were doing the big shows.
Right.
And he just glowed when he got into the big shows and what we had to do. And Mr. Payne just loved him because he worked very, very hard, and he had to keep his grades up in order to be in this and to continue with the music. So.
And Mr. Payne would come around to the classes where he was and say, well, how's everybody doing? How are you doing, Corey? Do you like music? Oh, yeah. But when he first came in, he was seemed like he was disgruntled. He said, I'll never forget it. I was in front of the classroom, and he went way down to the end and sat in the front seat and kind of put his head down like this. And I thought, oh, I've got some work to do here. Where's Ray Payne now? He's down in the auditorium.
Yeah.
But that was the catalyst that really got him moving, don't you think?
Yes.
And when he needed to do work, if he missed an assignment, I'd say, gee, if you want to dance, you're going to have to do math. and he took that, and that was the glory of our school, is that the kids had so many vocational classes to choose from, and they get hooked in one area or another.
Right.
And you could use that to your benefit, and it helped them not only in, for example, math or reading, it helped them in all of their classes.
That's great.
And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the students, the great learning experience it was for Corey, and how he turned around. I think that was the thing that made me really think long and strong about Corey, because I knew underneath that facade there was something wonderful there, and he just went with the program. And if Mr. Payne said he had to do something before he could come to class, it was done. You know, it was Corey's, that's what Corey needed more than anything when he went to dance.
Yeah, it was like a calling with Corey.
Right.
He knew he loved music,
Yeah.
and it was a calling, and then he had a way of showing what he could do with Mr. Payne, and so there was motivation there to make them move, to do well, and to be more than what he was originally seeing in himself.
He does talk about you, Miss Deegan, though, about the reading.
Yes.
And he didn't really like reading.
No, he didn't.
But somehow you connected reading and made him enjoy it.
And that's a blessing for me.
Well, what was cool is there were 3 different levels of dance, and in 6th grade, Corey was on the stage, and you know, he was a little bit more height challenged than some of the other kids, but because of his talent, he always got the front row. And then when he got into Sterling Silvers, he wasn't hidden in the back because he was so good. He was in the front row.
Yes.
And you know, you could tell instantly that he had something and he was going to go someplace with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest thing that's happened between him learning the subject areas, and he did really well, plus he learned the dance, and he finally saw, gee, I've got to help other children do this. How can I help other children want to be in school,
Yes.
learn to read, learn to do their math, so that they too can become successful. So that was so exciting when he started that program.
It is.
Yes.
It is about those connections, even with the teachers, because he still talks about all of you as his teachers and what a positive influence that you had on him to make that switch. So that's why he does try to go in and encourage staff members and teachers to keep going, and you know, you might be that person that says that one word to that child and switches it all about. So he definitely, you know, talks about all of you guys and being that change agent for him, which is huge.
I think it's because the school was small. There were students in all different fields, like building, auto mechanics,
Print shop.
print shop, all those kinds of things. But he drifted towards, and Mr. Payne was thrilled about it. Now Mr. Payne wasn't easy. You know, he didn't grab because some kids said they wanted to be in there. He always listened to them, but he also knew, I'll never forget the time he told me that there's something special about Corey, and it just has to be developed. But he was tough too.
Oh, he was very tough, yes.
Yeah.
High expectations.
I wonder what
They
Corey's name was.
expected.
What was Corey's nickname with Mr. Payne? Everybody had a nickname.
Yeah.
I don't know what Corey's was. I'll have to find out.
I'll have to ask him. I don't remember. He told me.
But one thing that was cool is, you know, we lined up and got in class, you know, to try to control the kids, and here comes Corey dancing down the hallway. You know, okay, Corey, you're not in Payne's class now. You gotta calm down for now.
I could see that personality coming out like that.
Yeah.
So he felt comfortable.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's exactly what it was. And Mr. Payne was such an influence on him and so many students. And I think the fact that we had a small school, the class sizes were small, smaller than a normal class, and there was a camaraderie. We had activities, we worked together. All of this kind of thing was brought the kids closer together, don't you think?
Oh, yes, they saw us working together as teams and having programs for them to say, okay, we finished our work, we got these grades. And we had a wonderful, wonderful discipline program. They had to carry cards every single day.
Right.
And that discipline made all the difference in the world.
Well, it was like
really
a little
did.
family.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and you know, for a lot of students, they need a little bit of motivation, and our behavior modification cards,
Right.
mod cards,
Yeah.
really helped. And you could see how they did in each class, and then say, well, what went wrong in reading today? What can we do? Or I would just say, you need time to collect yourself. Most teachers in most schools can't do that. They don't give you a little space to go get what you need, sit there, and then come back and join us when you're ready. And that was one of the things that was wonderful. Corey just told me a few minutes ago, one of the things I think is fascinating is, although he really liked working with Mr. Payne, his counterpart was the art teacher.
Yes.
He wasn't terribly fond of art. And if you look around here, that really seems funny to me, because he is an artist.
He is
Very
an artist.
He is. He
Yes.
has multiple talents.
You know, and
Yes.
art on papers, you know.
Right.
And the most exciting thing to me is knowing Corey for all these years and in school, and to see him, see all this beautiful artwork and the music and everything, the talent and the gift, and you of course had a big part in this too. To see him succeed like this is something, and this is only the beginning.
Right.
This is only the beginning.
And this is what students need to see. They need to know that there's more in the world than just a book or a way of doing things, that there's many different ways of doing things. And that they can learn from what he has learned
That's right.
through the math and the tiles and the reading, and he's reading music and he's singing songs and he's writing songs. And all of this is correlated together, and that in itself is just fantastic.
It is. He pulled it all together.
Yes.
But he really does attest it to all the strong teachers he had, because a lot of our youth today don't have that family structure. It looks
No.
different than years ago for many of them. So coming into school and feeling that sense of community and family, and that teachers are there no matter what, and those high expectations that you guys set, I think really gave him that path to understand how successful he could really be, because he wasn't always seeing that at home. I mean, of course, his mom was always there, but when you need that male role model or those things that weren't always in place, he still has those strong bonds. Like today, he still calls you guys to come out, and you guys still go to lunch hour. But he talks about that all the time. Even when he goes to his shows, he talks about the teachers he had and how important that teachers can build students up, and we need to support them, and how important everybody is.
And another thing I think about is the program itself was unusual. They decided they needed a school for students who needed extra help. And Scotty East was the principal, and he was phenomenal, wasn't he?
Oh, yes.
And he made sure he was going to have the best teachers for his kids in that program. I mean, he was adamant about it, and we were the lucky ones that got it.
But you know what's funny? I worked for a year as a sub at Lealman, and it was amazing. I loved being a sub there, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Mr. East said, call every Friday, and we'll see if we can get an opening for you. So I called him during the summer every Friday. He kind of knew me because I had been there a whole year. We sit down for a 3-hour interview. I mean, it was so funny. He just, put you through the rings. He wanted to know all about you, and that was the quickest way for him to do it. And, that's kind of how it was with the kids. The kids came in, and we had to get to know them, and we had to pull things from them. And I kind of learned a lot from that interview with Mr. East because I used it with my kids, And, we had 9 vocational classes for the kids at one point. It started out 8 and then went to 9. And the kids flourished, and you could tell that most of them were right-brained. And they loved the school. And then the program changed. While I was there, we had 4 different programs at Lealman. And I just think that the old days, I hate to say this, were so good. And Corey is a prime example of why the program worked.
And I think too, I found it when I went into work at Lealman, it was my happy day. I loved being there. And because we loved being there, we showed that the kids knew. And they knew that, oh, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to fail, you're going to have rough days, but we still are there for you no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's what made the difference.
Right.
And you know, I think too that the teachers, Scotty East, who was the principal, and the teachers, he handpicked the teachers. In fact, like Laura said, and I got a call saying, Kay, could you stop by the school on your way home from school? And I said, sure. And I met him through Ray Payne, because Ray Payne and I were good friends.
Oh, okay.
And so, anyway, I went by and he said, you're coming here. I said, what? He said, yes. He said, I've already got it in the works. You're going to be transferred from there over here to Deegan.
Wow.
I said, yes, I'd love to.
Scotty was very, very proactive and he wanted something.
Yeah. We all have wonderful experience, and I think the idea of having that small school and hand-chosen teachers who had this camaraderie and worked together and planned together, it was the winner.
And my first few years at Lealman, Scotty, to make enough classrooms, had cut standard classrooms in half. So I had this tiny, we all had these tiny little classrooms. Oh, Donna's was really small, Mrs. Miller's. And I had, because I was math, I got all of the kids, not just the mainstream kids.
Okay.
You know, the ESE kids, I had everybody. So I had 17 to 19 kids a class in this tiny little room. And you know what? They loved it. They loved being close. They loved working together. They just ate it up because they had so much to look forward to. And the classes were only like, 35 minutes at the beginning, and then we went up to an hour and a half, So at the end. They had, just before they were ready to get bored, it was time to change class.
Right, that's perfect, right? That timing is everything.
I think of the time when we were in the auditorium. Scotty had called all of the teachers and students to the auditorium, and we were all there. And then after he got through with his song and dance, the kids loved him too. And then he said on the speaker, okay, teachers, go back to your rooms, do whatever you want to do. I'll take them over for the rest of the afternoon.
Oh, wow.
And he did, because he himself was so gifted and talented.
Wow.
And with Ray Payne there, the kids had a ball.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
one of the things that I remember from my second or third year at Lealman was the teachers got together to put on a show.
Oh,
And do you remember that? We
Yes,
Are
I did
Family,
talk about that.
and then the one where they did Schools Out. I think that was the song.
It was, oh.
The teachers dressed up. See, I didn't know about it, so
Okay.
I was in the audience with the kids. It was amazing because that was Lealman. The
Right.
teachers did what the students
Right.
did.
Right.
You kind of had to be a special person to work there or go there. It was awesome. It was wonderful.
It was fun. It was just fun. And I had no intentions of going there. It was kind of by accident. I was interviewing for a job because I'm ESE also. And Mrs. Scarborough, she was interviewing me and she had to go out of the room for a call. And I saw something on her desk and nobody was around. So I leaned over the desk and I saw Lealman. And I said, what's Lealman? I was reading a little bit about it. So when she came back in, I asked about it. She goes, well, I don't know if that would be something you'd like. I said, well, I'm kind of interested. I'd like to see. She said, okay, I'll set up an interview. And that's how I ended up there.
Donna and I actually started the same year. I think.
Same year.
87.
Exact same year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
87.
we did.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that sounds so long ago.
It does. It certainly does.
And I feel privileged because Corey was like at the beginning of my career and then at the end of my career, and I was there 30 years. At the end of my career, Corey came in program is in
Yeah,
programs
that's
for
right.
us.
We
And you know, I would just sit there and the kids go, Mrs. Hunter, do you have a problem with? I said, no, I just love him, you know.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it was so wonderful to see one of our very own out there making it in the world
Yes.
and bringing children together to say, we can do this too. And that was just everything.
And just a little note about Mr. Payne, the dance teacher. Mr. Payne had a good relationship with the dance teacher at Gibbs, and he would feed a lot of his kids into Gibbs. Well, anybody who wanted to go, he could work with them. And his kids went to Alvin Ailey in New York. They danced on stage in New York. They, you know, they didn't just stay in St. Pete and not do anything with their careers.
Right.
They ended up being professionals. And I have one of the other students that was there, I think a little after Corey, and all he does is his whole life is dance, but he got hurt and now he can't dance anymore.
Wow.
And he had been on stage in New York dancing, and one of his best friends from Lealman is on stage still dancing in New York. And it was, I think it's a testament to the school and the program that Ray was running.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
And that's, I think, how Corey gets that focus and trying to make children feel like they're resilient and they can overcome any obstacle that they go through. So I think he learned a lot of that at Lealman.
Yes.
And having those conversations at Lealman and having those high expectations and having Mr. Payne and all of you to support him was just, I think it was a game changer for him. It just shifted his whole way of thinking. I don't know how long he gave you guys trouble for, gave that pouty face, but I wonder, what's the
that
real
was
truth?
just-
I want to know the real truth of this.
Well, he's only at the very
Oh, my
beginning until he met Mr. Payne.
Oh, okay,
And then also the
Change.
teachers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
we loved the kids, you know, and we wanted them to do the best.
Right.
And I think that was pretty much through the
Throughout
whole
the school.
program.
Yes. it
He
was.
felt that, he really did.
By the time he was in 8th grade, he was the BMOC, big man.
He was.
Everybody knew who Corey was. You know? Yeah, that was pretty
That's
cool.
great.
And then just one more thing I wanted to say is after I stopped teaching, I was called back to teach at other schools, and I was over at New Heights, and there was a teacher there who, you know, Corey came over, and I didn't know he was coming to the school. And so I was in the office, and here comes Corey through the door. We were so excited. And he went through and did the most wonderful program and has been doing the most wonderful program with his music and gets the kids all pumped up. And they're all excited. And he's there, he's doing his music, and then he's got them doing things that, you know, I could have just cried when I saw all this, especially for the first time.
It's life changing. It is.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
for
he's
sure.
changing other
Yeah,
children's
absolutely.
lives.
Right, right. Yeah. That's what a lot of the feedback he gets out of them. When they're screaming down the PE field and running after them looking for autographs. So, but he does hold you all in high regard, and he talks all the time about Lealman and how it changed his life. So we thank you all for sure.
Oh, you're
And
And taking the time to come and view this and
It's been
have some
a
talk,
joy.
because he really wants to keep all this. Like, he keeps all these pictures and he wants to keep a lot of the videos, so he has them for years to come.
That'll be wonderful. And I see even more going on with all of this work that you've done. I see something bigger down the road. Do you?
Oh, yes, and if, you know, he knows we're always here. If he ever needs anything or needs some help, we would be more than happy, more than happy to help him.
Take you up on that. Come July.
Yeah,
Thank you.